All right, let's hand it over to Flatzoid. You got up to 6 minutes.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate this discussion. Thank you, Will, for actually asking for this because I'm happy I could actually present this now, especially now it's almost time to do this. So I'm going to argue against why I say the final experiment is not an experiment, as it's not scientific and it's only a false dichotomy. First, we have to look at the basics. What is science? Well, science, based on definition, is the systematic study and the structure of behavior of the physical and natural world through, note, observation, experimentation, and testing the theories against the evidence obtained. So we have to observe what we're claiming, and then we have to do experimentation to make it called science. So do we observe the sun? Well, I agree. Yes, obviously, we see the sun. What do we observe about the sun, though? Let's see. We observe the sun moving across our sky. We see that it gives heat energy. We see it lights up the sky. We see divergent rays. We see it following a circuit with its times and seasons. This should be interesting because since WIll Duffy is a Christian as myself, and the Bible does talk about the sun following a circuit, it should be interesting to see how he will speak about this later. We see its change is in angular size based on the weather and just the angle movement. Sometimes you can see the sun huge at the horizon. Sometimes you can see it small. It has different optical effects. And yes, we are even able to show angular size change with lens caps. So next we have to make a hypothesis. What is a scientific hypothesis? A scientific hypothesis is a testable statement that is a prediction of the outcome of an experiment and is based on prior knowledge and observation. So we have to test it based on a prediction, and we have to do an experiment based on a knowledge of these observations. Okay, so what is a hypothesis, you might ask? Well, it's simple. There's just three very basic essential parts. The explanation. This is the explanation is part of the hypothesis, which means you have to know the independent variable. The independent variable is the factor that the researcher has to manipulate to see if it affects the other variables. The other variables it will have to affect is the dependent variable. So the dependent variable is the other variable that is affected by the independent variable. So let's just make this very short and simple. The IV, the independent variable, has to be manipulated to cause the effect for the DV, the dependent variable. This has to be happening to make it scientific. So what is an independent variable? Simple. It is the independent variable are directly manipulated by the researcher, while the dependent variables are not. They are dependent because they are affected by the independent variable in their experiment. Notice that this is in the experiment done, not just due to observation. Observation is not an experiment. The hypothesis requires an IV and a DV, and the IV has to be manipulated because that is the presumed cause for the effect. So, can we manipulate the cause in the final experiment? No. So not science. No, it's not an experiment. So therefore, we can't claim the final experiment as an experiment because it's not scientific. Now, why is the final experiment a false dichotomy? Well, it's very simple. A false dichotomy is a logical fallacy that presents a situation as having only two options, usually extreme opposites, when in reality there are more possibilities. Yes, this is what the final experiment pushes, either globe or either flat because of sun. Therefore, it's a false dichotomy. What is the argument for the final experiment? Well, simple. If we see a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, then that means a globe Earth. And if we see it setting sun, then it's the flat Earth. The issue I have with this is, it doesn't matter if it sets or is above the horizon 24 hours a day. It will not either invalidate or validate a flat Earth. The only ones making a claim here are the globe, just like WIll Duffy did in his presentation, showing the sun and models of the sun moving around the globe. So in other words, it's only there to invalidate a globe, not a flat Earth. Flat Earth is able to have the sun going in a circuit around Antarctica 24 hours a day and not as well. It doesn't really change if the Earth is flat or not. So Why do we look at the sun and ignore all the huge glaring issues? Why do we not observe physical curve? Everything we observe is optical. This can be demonstrated and shown to be so. Why don't we observe Earth movement? Well, it's simple. We know the stars are moving like the Bible describes it as well. Why don't we observe gravity? Well, the claim is gravity is real, although there is no science for gravity. It's based on pseudoscience and false attribution to things falling. So,
30 seconds.
just a whole bunch of claims with pseudoscience backing as masquerading as science. And that's my opening statement. Thank you.
They brightly shine, crafted signs of the divine. I'm made for something true. In God's plan, my path renews. Flat earth made by Him, my journey long yet thin. Purpose found in every day, guided by